Unrest in Bangladesh continues, and Awami League has announced nationwide campaign against the current interim government. We are very glad to be joined by Suhas Chakma, Director Risk and Rights and Risk Analysis Group RRAG from National Capital New Delhi, and also Shubhimal Bhattacharjee, columnist, joining us from Guwahati, Northeast. I'm going to start with Suhas Chakmaji. So Chakmaji, we know that the anti-Yunus campaign, as per the Awami League and the timetable that they have released, will kickstart on 1st of February, culminating in blockades and bunds and Hartals on 16th and 18th February. This also follows an announcement that the Awami League will not be allowed to contest any polls in near future. You see this situation escalating and a big face-off between Awami League and Yunus's government. What do you think has triggered this positioning or posturing by Awami League, and what, according to you, could be its repercussions, considering the kind of headlines Bangladesh has been making, whether it is about the unrest on ground or human rights violations or press gag, etc.?
Well, I think it is expected simply because of the fact that the mandate of an interim government is to hold elections, and they have been going too far to carry out reforms which they cannot give effects to, because at the end of the day there is no parliament to give sanctions to the reforms. So this election should have been organized within 6 months' time, which is basically by 8th of February this year. He had not conducted these elections. So it's not only the Awami League, it's actually also the BNP, which has already announced the agitation programs. In fact, Salahuddin today has already announced the program for the BNP. They have not given the schedule. So it's clear that people in Bangladesh want free and fair elections. And of course, you have Yunus trying to form some kind of a king's party with the help of the students. And he has been basically trying to establish, and so far he has been able to establish, mob rule in the country with the help of the anti-discrimination students movement. So anybody he doesn't like, he will have the students to go and campaign against them, and that's the way he got about 21 judges of the Supreme Court and the High Court removed. And at any given point of time, you would see that the students belonging to this anti-discrimination student movement headed by this Hassan Abdullah, they are going and attacking the press, asking the media houses to sack certain journalists. So basically they have created a lawless situation where things which cannot be done legally by the Yunus government are being done illegally through the anti-discrimination students movement. So it's not only Awami League, all other political parties are also joining. So once Awami League and the BNP come and launch programs which will coincide together at this point of time as per the timeline given, then of course this government has to go.
But can this government go? Shubhimal, over to you. Now, Awami League has labelled Yunus's government, and I quote, sponsors of radical militancy, unquote. Now, do you see here the opposition, the so-called opposition bloc, can consolidate their position against the interim government led by Yunus? Because they've already, they're beyond the election deadline. They don't seem to be in mood to holding elections prima facie. So you think opposition can make some sort of dent as far as interim government is concerned?
I think, Sakal, as much as the interim government tries to drag its feet and try to, postpone the elections and keep a popular government away from office, it always risks itself being caught in the, common man's eye as a government trying to not do what it promised. What was this promise? They came saying that, the Awami League had spoilt everything. Sheikh Hasina was a dictator, and, they are going to reform the country, hold elections soon. But if you see the troubles that the people are witnessing, whether it is on the economic front, whether the minorities, the way they have been attacked and all, whether Mr. Yunus himself is seen to be a weakling in front of, many of the groups of students that are there. So I think a kind of situation has emerged where the opposition parties and, in whichever bloc they are, whether it is the Awami League or even the BNP, they are seeing that space to be opposing the Yunus-led government and all. So there are people who are now feeling the pain of things not going in the right direction as was promised. So I think there is a space, and they are trying to gather that. And Awami League now calling for such kind of direct protest against a situation, after August 5th, where they were almost seen to be gone. I don't think, that situation is anymore there now. A lot of people think that whatever be it, they had a place and they should have a role.
No, but there are also reports that Awami League is a divided house in itself. So, Hasji, what's your reading into that? The questions being asked, or perhaps is it this thing that can they really bounce back? Well, not to the power, because if you look at the interim government, they've declared that it would not allow Awami League to proceed with the rally, or even for contesting in elections, or maybe they are going to declare them politically defunct. But then do you think Awami League has some sort of a roadmap to come back into the game?
I definitely think there is the space available. Was it meant for me or for Suhas?
You both can address that, but Suhasji, you first.
Okay, let's Suhas.
Yes, good to see Subimal. What I am saying is that the Awami League has a space, and the people who announced that Awami League cannot participate in the elections are basically this mob which belong to the anti-discrimination students movement. The Election Commission had made it very clear that Awami League cannot participate in the elections only if there is a law. There is no law which can bar a political party at this point of time to participate in the elections. So they will participate. So there is no way. In fact, BNC
So are you saying that this ban on, I'm sorry, I'm just to understand, because this is a very pertinent point, Suhas, you have raised that this so-called ban on Awami League to contest in polls doesn't hold any ground. It's null and void.
No, it is some students talking, I'm sorry to say, talking rubbish. They will not allow the Awami League to contest the elections, because Awami League is not a banned political party. They have banned Chhatra League, which is the student wing, but there is a difference between the Chhatra League and the Awami League. So Awami League shall contest the election. They may not win the elections, but you never know. I think what we have to understand is that the Yunus is not willing to give up power. Those who are in power at this point of time in the caretaker government, they are not willing to give up power. They want to form their own political party with the help of the Jamaat-e-Islami, which has never won more than 6 to 8% of the votes. So I think Awami League would contest, and by the time elections are held, people would be, asking the questions what these people who wanted to reform in the country or bring reforms in the country have done. Nothing. Because, see, the origin of the movement, the students' movement, was the reform of the quota. So once the government was overthrown, they have assumed the powers. And everybody knows there are so many people in the caretaker government. They themselves are transferring their funds to foreign countries, including Dubai, and they themselves shall be prosecuted very soon.
Right.
Very soon they will face prosecution.
Now, reportedly, Shubimal, adding to that, key advisor to the interim government has already announced that the Awami League would be excluded from contesting elections in the future. That's why I asked it rejoined to Suhas. So what happens now if this whole just a blanket statement that you're not allowed, or you will not be allowed to contest in polls? This statement can be challenged legally or otherwise by Awami League, and they have it is within their jurisdiction and rights to contest if the polls take place or whenever the polls take place.
Oh, definitely, not only, legally they contest the case, but there is still a good section of the, liberal population in Bangladesh which would still go by, the Awami League. Remember, as, and I mentioned earlier that this caretaker government was seen to be bringing in reform. They have brought in nothing, whereas at the same time, Awami League's economic policies, well, it might have thrown a lot of people who have misused with the money and everything, but a larger section of the Bangladeshi people benefited. Bangladesh went up in its, economic rankings and, in terms of doing business, in terms of doing the exports. And then a kind of a situation now has been created that a lot of people are feeling the pinch. So definitely they have the support. The question is, where does this liberal vote go? And if at all in any way, Awami League can be banned from the public space for contextual election. I don't think that, that would lead to a very easy way to conduct the election, and there might be even violence, which used to be a very common feature in Bangladesh. Now that their different leaders are in a very disarrayed situation, now they might not be organizationally very strong, but I think that the caretaker government itself is creating the space for Awami League to come back and be there in the political space of Bangladesh and not necessarily become extinct.
Oh, that's interesting. Sukma ji, do you agree with that point?
Oh, absolutely. I think I completely agree with it. There is no way. I mean, I think still 30 to 35% of the population would be voting for Awami League. The BNP would be having equal number of, votes. See, at the end of the day, Awami League, you like or dislike, it's the political party which had, brought liberation in the country.
With the legacy.
You are not going to, wipe out the political party which was in power for the last 15 years. Possibly they are the people who have more support base than anybody else. We have to remember that, the people who are in power today, they do not have any political support base. None of the people who are serving in the advisory committee have, has the political support base. They are either from the NGO sector or some retired army general who had some thinking and got the opportunity. So they are there because of that particular situation which had arisen. And instead of performing their own responsibilities, they now want to form a political party and have some kind of a -2 solution, which I had said months back that the BNP and Awami League will come together in the streets. These people will have to flee. In the last, rally where the students wanted to bring about 15 to 20 lakhs people for adoption of the July declaration, we were able to bring only 15 to 20,000 people. So people have already lost their hopes with this revolution or whatever, they are thinking about. And today they can't, bring 20,000 to, 30,000 people, not more than that. That too also with the help of the Jamaat-e-Islami. So the students, coordinators, they have lost all the credibility because the moment you have joined the government, two of their coordinators have joined the government, you are no longer impartial and you have lost the whatever credibility you had. So people do not have any credibility, especially the students. In 6 months' time, it will be very difficult for them to justify their own presence in the movement or in the government.
So that kind of puts some sort of a pressure on Yunus's government, Suhas Chakmaji, because Human Rights Watch have also come up with some, observations about whatever is happening right under the nose of Yunus's government, whether it is gag on press or so-called human rights violations. We can run those graphics again. As far as Human Rights Watch group has talked about the need of the hour is inducing the reforms, but is that happening? Rights respecting future.
No, I think Human Rights Watch was completely off the mark. For only one reason, you have an interim government. An interim government cannot undertake any reforms because if you want to bring reforms, if you want to give legal effects, you have to either pass a law or bring through an ordinance. And that's not the mandate which an interim government has. So that's something to be done by an elected government, whoever wins the elections. So they should have pressed for the elections. And at this point of time, what we see is Yunus has completely lost control over this situation. There is a mob rule in the country, and he himself is allowing it because he has given indemnity to the people who have killed police officers. In one side, you have, police officers and other paramilitary forces violating human rights during July uprising. So that's one part of the story. The other part of the story is that, lots of security forces, as for the official estimates 44, but unofficially it's about 100 policemen who are killed. So when it comes to prosecution of those who have killed these policemen, Yunus government has given complete indemnities. You cannot register the FIR, you cannot arrest them. So what kind of justice you are talking about?
Right.
You have given immunity. Everybody is equal before the law. Whoever commits a crime from both sides is to be treated as an accused, and we tried and we punished the found guilty. And that process has completely stopped. So I think the recommendations of the Human Rights Watch, do not make any sense. Because the government is not authorized to take any measures. It's as simple as that.
Okay. Shubhamal, quick one. I need to wrap it up. Your point.
No, I think, the faith on Professor Yunus that was there at the beginning when, the students also thought that he could be a great face. Now that is waning.
Dwindling. He's on a precarious foot. Yeah.
And as Suhasji just mentioned about, indemnifying people who killed police officers, I don't think, Bangladesh people accepted the same reason for which they went against the Sheikh Hasina government. Now they are seeing the same thing being repeated here. So time is a great healer, I say, but here in this case, even before healing, time itself is trying to bring back the same people who were demonized.
Okay. So, yes, please finish your point. Yes.
Yeah, so I think, it's time for, the Yunus government to really call for elections early, because the more time they remain, they not only damage the things within the country, but also in all the relations in the neighborhood and all. Already there are security concerns in many parts of India now.
It's basically, it's public standing domestically and internationally as well. That's what you're trying to say. On that note, thank you very much, gentlemen. Suhas Chakmaji, it's always a pleasure talking to you, and Shubhamal, you too. Thank you, both of you, for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.